Hey guys, what's going on? I know I've been really busy. I know I started every single video like that, and then I say I started every single video like that at the start of every video too, but all settled in with my new job, so I have a little bit more free time now that I'm trying to figure things out. So what are we going to talk about today, kids? We're going to talk about how the Democrats are trying to gaslight everyone else when it comes to a myriad of subjects. We're going to hone in on critical race theory, but really you can say this about many issues that the Democrats talk about, or just political issues in general. By now you must have seen lots of news articles about parents across the country getting mad at teacher conferences or school board conferences and things like that because critical race theory is being taught in the classrooms now. It is part of what Biden wants. Biden wants the education system to be that way. But the weird thing is that the Democrats are trying to deny that they're even teaching critical race theory when they blatantly are. A kid comes home from school and says, "Mom, I was taught that I'm racist because I'm white, and I have privilege because I'm white, and I just give all my classmates who are minorities all this stuff, and they should just take things away from me, and I'm inferior to them, and I'm an oppressor, and they're the victim." And the mom is outraged, and this happens, tens of thousands of houses throughout the country, and the parents like, "Why are you teaching my kid this? This is blatantly racist. What are you talking? Why would you do this?" And they're like, "Oh, we're not doing that." Then where did my son get that idea from? You think these kids just made up this on their own? All of these kids across the country just happened to make up this lie. It's the biggest inside joke to ever exist. They're like, "Hey guys, we're going to tell our parents that we're being taught racist things in the classroom," and then they're getting upset even though it really didn't happen. Like, do you think that's what happened? Why would all of these kids, and minorities too, minorities came home and they're like, "Yeah, I'm being taught that I'm a victim and I'm entitled to all these things, and my white classmates are inferior." It's not just white kids who are coming home saying this, it's minorities saying the same thing too. But Democrats are trying to pivot and gaslight and saying, "Oh, that's not really what we're teaching, we're really teaching something else." And they just go on to some excuse as to what they're teaching is not racist. So this is a pattern of what they do. They obviously do something very wrong to us, anyone who's not a Democrat. Actually, they do Democrats too. This is against white people, against Americans, whatever the target is in the political issue. It's so blatantly obvious what they're doing. It's so flagrant in their violation of our rights. And they were like, "Hey, stop that. That's against the Constitution. That's against our rights." And they're like, "Oh, we're not doing that." And you're like, "Okay, well, you're saying this one thing about critical race theory. What else to do about that?" Gun rights, for one. They've been doing that for a long time. How many times have you heard Democratic politicians say, "We want to ban all AR-15s. We want forced confiscation of AR-15s." And then they turn around two seconds later and like, "Oh, we don't want to take all your guns, just the AR-15, which is the most popular rifle in the country, and there's literally millions of them." And then they want to take away certain triggers or certain braces or certain suppressors, and then inch at a time they ban this, ban that, one little thing at a time, and then they turn around and say, "Oh, we're not actually trying to ban everything." Well, that's how it certainly looks like it. Not that banning just one rifle is okay. If they just ban the AR-15, then that's fine. No, because then the next thing you're going to know, "Oh, we're going to ban the AK. Oh, we're going to ban the SKS. Oh, we're going to ban," and they just do one thing at a time. And if anyone gets mad, they're like, "Oh, it's just one rifle. What's the big deal? There's only 10,000 other ones to buy." And they keep doing this again and again and again. We see that with freedom of speech. We're like, "Oh, we just want to ban violent speech, like you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. We just want to ban dangerous speech that leads to violence." Then they start with Alex Jones. Then they go to every single right-wing commentator you can think of. Then they go for the president. Then they go for, you can't say certain ideas on YouTube, even though the WHO and the CDC say that. If you say that, you get banned for that too. Anything they don't like. So what it started as banning violent speech to now banning everything we don't like, and we just say, "Oh, it's linked to violence." No evidence given, no data given for any of that. They just do it. So now there are whole topics of conversation that you just can't have on any of the major social media platforms. If people are scared to talk about things because they don't want their coworkers finding out and them get fired from their jobs and they lose their livelihood in their houses and can't feed their families. "Oh, but it's just banning dangerous speech, bro." No, now we live in a climate where we can't talk about certain things. The rules always are changing on a whim of what you can say on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, or not. That's why I support alt tech. That's why I made an Odyssey account. I made a, what's the one like Twitter? I made a Telegram account too. Like, I want to get off these platforms, but even if us sane people get off the big tech, ordinary people, the masses who are unwilling contributing to all of these problems and don't even know about it because no one around them ever talks about it, because what do? They listen to the radio, mainstream. No, they just get the same filtered crap every single day. They get on their phone, they get on Facebook, censored information, they won't see certain topics, they never know any of these problems ever exist because all they do is get their stuff from mainstream media sources. They will still be brainwashed, and that's the problem. We can move to alt tech where we have freedom of speech. We can move to states that protect gun rights. But we still have masses of enemies that view us as a threat and view us as not Americans, view us as evil people that are all around us. It's still a problem. What other examples? I mean, we could just go down the list. I could be here for hours saying all these things that the Democrats are blatantly doing, like raising taxes. Actually, sometimes they're blatant. Yeah, they blatantly say, I will raise taxes. You look at their voting record, it is voting for every single tax increase you can ever think of. Then they turn around and say, oh, I'm for the working class. I'm for the little guy. I want to stand up to them. I want the corporations to pay their fair share. How many times have you heard that? And then every single fucking time, they don't pass anything, and corporations still get away with all these loopholes. Wow, these people have all the power to control everything they want, and yet somehow they just can't make the corporations pay what they say they want them to pay. It's almost like they don't want the corporations paying it anyway. Wow, I didn't know politicians and big corporations were in league with each other. Next, you're going to tell me that they don't care about our rights and they want to disarm us. Like, it's so fucking ridiculous. The critical race theory was the one I just wanted to focus on. But once you see that they do this with so many other rights or issues, where they blatantly want to do harm to you in terms of your rights, in terms of your standard of living, your quality of life, whatever, and then when you get mad at them, they're like, oh, we're not actually doing that. And then they make up some stupid fucking excuse as to why they're not doing it. It's like a bully just smacks you upside the head, like, hey, stop hitting me. He's like, I'm not hitting you. I'm trying to gaslight you into submitting and just thinking, oh, he's actually not hitting me. So you just put up with it. That's what the government wants us to do, is to stop complaining about these things and just bend over and take it. When it comes to having racism taught in our classes, for our guns being taken away, for our freedom of speech to be taken away, for our taxes to ever increase, they want this with everything. And yet the masses, because everyone who's not like a Republican, like they would say, oh, only Republicans don't like critical race theory. Well, that's roughly half the country, idiot. What are you talking about? Only half the country thinks it's a problem, that's why it's no big deal. Yeah, it is a big deal. That means roughly, give or take a couple of million here and there, that just as many people see it as a problem as people who support it. And I think most people who support it don't know what it actually is. So I think the people who truly know about it, who support it, is a very small minority of people who unfortunately are in charge of a lot of things. When do we use that for any other example? When do we say, just because white Republicans think this is an issue, that's why it's really not an issue because everyone else is okay with it? When do we say that about any other issue? When do we say, oh, only black Americans think that violence against by police against African Americans is bad, so it's really not a big deal because everyone else is fine with it? Or we say, only Asian Americans are concerned with the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes, so everyone else is fine with it. They don't think it's a big deal. So really, that means it's not a big deal. It's like, that would be ridiculous. That would be so ridiculous as to say, oh, because this one demographic thinks it's an issue, and everyone else is basically okay with it, then that means it's really their problem. Like, they're the ones with the problem. They're the ones who are radical, because they're the only ones that think this is a problem. So I guess that about wraps it up. I am amazed that people still can't see that the Democrats are trying to gaslight us. But I know why, because they get all the information, every single piece of information, from CNN, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, MSNBC, ABC, and that's it. They have no idea. If you ask a random Democrat what's critical race theory, they have no idea. They might say, oh, it's just teaching, that America was racist and we had slaves and we need to, fix things now or something. Like, there's a good chunk of them that know exactly what it is. and support it, because Democrats are full of fucking anti-white racists. I can't believe how normal white Democrats can't see it, that they hate you. They absolutely despise you and want to take everything from you and treat you like a fucking dog.